Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber. Well, we just had an opening game of a World Cup, and I'll be honest, when I heard it was USA-Canada, I understood it from a PR perspective, and I understood, the way that the ICC was thinking, but I also thought, this could be a bad game. USA has been smashing Canada everywhere of recent times, and clearly they have upskilled their side even more from when they used to beat Canada. So I just thought, it could be so one-sided. Well, at one stage in this game, and we'll get to exactly when, the USA were 11-1. In fact, I think in some markets you can get them at 15 and 16-1. This game was over. The USA were not even in it. And somehow from there, they went on to win with overs to spare. 2.2 overs to spare. I mean, I haven't looked at the exact numbers yet. Canada completely owned this game for the first 30 overs. They were in charge. Maybe the first 28. Let's be a little bit more friendly. The USA have good new ball bowlers, but the wicket looked an absolute belter, and they were smashing the ball everywhere at that point. And Aaron Johnson was hitting the quicks really, really well. And I kept waiting for the USA to get back on top, or at least rein them in, but it never really happened. Naveed Dhaliwal just played beautifully. He was kind of anchoring but finding boundaries, and almost every time he looked like he wanted to hit a boundary, he did. He was so in control. Some of the balls he hit over cover, you're watching someone who really knows his game very, very well. And USA's best chance of taking wickets didn't seem to be any of their bowlers. Once the new ball bowlers didn't take wickets, and they had, their defensive left arm finger spinner, who's a very good player and bowled very well. After that, you were sort of looking at it going, how are they going to get a wicket? It might have to be Canada slogging or runouts, because the running between the wickets from the Canadians was not particularly good. And that's eventually where the wicket came from. At that point, Nicholas Kirthan came in. And it's important for you to know that I've been, scouting, watching Nicholas Kirthan for so long. Back when I was with St. Lucia, he was one of the young players coming through, and a potential player to be drafted. I've watched him bat in the Super 50. He gets a lot of innings where he makes, 35 runs off 55 balls in List A cricket. This was the best I had ever seen him bat. He got a couple of loose balls, but again, he put them away. He picked the short boundaries as well. But he was just completely in control of his batting from the moment he went out there. This was a really, really good innings from him, and it's a great sign for Canada going forward. Towards the end of the innings, perhaps Canada didn't quite cash in as much in that period where, for the first time, I think it was over 16 to 18, that sort of period, USA actually started bowling quite well, and you started to see why they were a team that has dominated Canada a little bit more, right? But there were still sixes being hit at the end and boundaries being scored, and Canada managed to get a very good total. They didn't quite bat the USA out of the game, quite clearly, but they had the kind of total where you thought to yourself, well, a couple of early wickets, and what's the USA going to do here? On top of that, USA is playing in a home World Cup. They are not a very experienced team. This is not a normal USA style wicket either. It was a lot better than a lot of the wickets that they play on over there. They were going to have to do their biggest chase ever in T20 international history, and I think it was something like the 6th biggest chase ever in World Cups. Right, like this was a really, really big total. And when they came out to bowl, the first ball from Canada swung violently, and you're thinking, well, that looks like a bigger score now. Let's see how long this lasts. Well, Stephen Taylor, who's been making all the runs for USA recently, and has obviously played in the CPL before, he goes out second ball and takes a review with him as well. But it was less about the wicket and just how much the ball was swinging and occasionally seaming. And even at times oddly bouncing. All of these things we almost did not see when the USA played. The only thing that was ever in favor of the USA's bowling was probably a little bit of late reverse swing. Everything else was in favor of Canada, and suddenly the ball was going everywhere. And no one from the USA could hit any of the seamers. And I kept waiting over after over. It just kept moving. And the biggest issue for Canada was their best balls beat the bat, and they beat the bat quite a lot. They just couldn't get the wickets going through. But no one from America could hit a single ball at that point. It was a brilliant, brilliant start to that innings. But I was sitting there going, it's got to stop swinging eventually. And if they aren't 2 or 3, maybe even 4 wickets down, what happens next? I stopped thinking about that when the 7th over started, and it was still swinging. Then in the 8th, it was the 7th of the 8th over, they got another wicket as well. It might have even been the 7th over when they got a wicket. And at that stage, I was like, wow, this ball cannot keep doing this. Canada don't have enough wickets, but they are so massively ahead on the runs at that point. Aaron Jones came out, and I'm a huge fan of Aaron Jones, but I think he didn't score for the first 4 or 5 balls. And at the end of the 8th over, USA had between a 2 and a 5% chance of winning the game, depending on which win predictors you were looking at, right? Then for the 9th over, something happened a lot. And this is the sort of thing where you do need to know something about USA cricket. And I should point out that not USA, associate cricket when you're watching. Because when USA had a 2 to 5% chance of winning, I actually put a bet on the USA at that point, right? And the reason was Canada hadn't yet bowled their 5th bowler. I knew enough from the stats, thanks to Varun, who'd shown me some stuff, that I didn't think that they had a real strength in the middle. And the fact that they were holding their 5th bowler back for so long, part of that might have been that the ball was swinging around. But the 9th over is a weird time to finally bring that player on. And Nikhil Dutta was his name, and he bowled a head-high full toss. That over went for 19. And according to Cricinfo, USA's win possibility jumped by 16% in that over. The next over, their captain, Saad bin Safar, was bowling, and he's a really good bowler. I've seen him bowl quite a bit before, in the Global T20. I think I've seen him some other places as well. He's a really good quality left-arm finger spinner. And it was clear that the ball was dewy at that point. I think we knew that from the part-time is over, but sometimes it's hard to tell when a part-time is bowling. But once their captain came on, and he got hit, and then it started. Cricinfo then at that point, which was the drinks point, I think Cricinfo had it as a 50-50 game. I don't know if I felt that way watching it, but I certainly felt very confident in the USA. And Aaron Jones, after that point, just went absolutely crazy. So they scored 19 runs, 14 runs, 10 runs, 15 runs, 20 runs, and 33 runs of the next few overs. The 33 run over was, is it Jeremy Corden? I think that's his name, isn't it? The Guyanese bowler who had been bowling beautifully, and had done really, really well for them, and set them up. And suddenly, I think he went for 44 runs and 33 runs in one of those overs. I think that's right. He was bowling really, really well, and suddenly he got a wicket with a no ball. And then he bowled another no ball, and then he bowled wides, and then he bowled short balls down the leg side, and then he bowled length balls. He just completely lost it, and that was it. Not only had it gone from USA not being able to win the game, it had gone to USA with no chance at all of losing the game. Right? Canada at that point had a less than 1% chance of winning the game from there. Also, it's worth shouting out, obviously we'll talk about Aaron Jones a little bit, and then we'll do a scoreboard. We'll be doing scoreboards live at 12 British Standard Time, British Summer Time, I should say, every day. This was just a quick reaction, which we'll be doing to some of the games as well. But Andreas Gies, who, again, I've seen him back before, and I know how talented he is, but he scratched around for ages. Good on him for sticking around and then finding some boundaries that helped Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones hit 10 sixes, and he hit a lot into the top tier and a few that just went completely out of the ground. At one stage, I was actually worried he was hitting the ball too far because he lost a ball, and I thought that ball has dew on it, and he's now hit it so far they're going to replace it. Then he hit the new ball just as far and got lots of sixes. Absolutely wild opening game. As I said at the start, I was a little bit, I don't know about USA Canada. Anyone who watched that game, and yes, not as many people who should have watched it, partly because of the weird time zones and everything else, but anyone who watched that game, you could not be unentertained by that game. Credit to both the sides. Canada really pushed USA, and USA had to do something quite remarkable to get over the line, and they absolutely did. We'll have a quick break here. We'll be back with a couple of your questions, but the main show will be on in, what time is it now? In about just under 7 hours' time. This is brought to you by Cricket 8. They are a new player in the game trying to educate fans on what is really happening in cricket. We have a partnership with them where we host live watch-alongs, do podcasts, and write articles. If you want to know what is really happening with our game, visit cricket8.com. If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now. All right, welcome back. We got a couple of good little questions here, actually. So we'll take these 5 questions. No super chats yet, but I've taken all the questions from the group, and if there's any more super chats, we'll take them. I have no idea what time it is or where I am in the world at the moment, if we're being honest. But QTW says, Aaron Jones looks like a solid bat. Could you see US creating issues for Pakistan? I think Aaron Jones is one of the people, I've probably seen him bat, 8 to 10 times from minor league cricket all the way through to USA, obviously a bit of major league cricket as well. He's a player that either looks terrible or like he can only hit sixes. And once he gets going, he's phenomenal. I know that some of the guys who coached him in Barbados have always been very high on him, and it's just never quite worked for him. Can I see him creating issues for Pakistan? US creating issues for Pakistan? They shouldn't. I still think they're a step below that. I watched the games against Bangladesh, and I was impressed with their cricket at times, but also think they're quite limited. I wonder how at the top level they will take wickets consistently, and we saw that on a good wicket against Canada today. I can't remember where Pakistan is playing them, but if they play them on another good wicket, that shouldn't be an issue, really. MD says, do you think they look like a better batting unit than Bangladesh? I think they do. I think they have more power than Bangladesh, and so it's easy to get sucked in by that. I don't know if you saw the game, MD, where Mustafizar took what? I want to say 6 for 11, 6 for 1, 6 for none, whatever it was. You saw some of the limitations that they have there, but I do think they're very set up for good batting wickets in a way that Bangladesh probably aren't. We saw Aaron Jones today, but we've also got Cory Anderson, the other South African, Harmeet Singh is another one, Shadley is another one. Like, we've got a lot of guys on sort of flat pitches who can just belt the ball everywhere. So I can certainly see that happening again. And yeah, I think they could make a very, very big impact there. Udit says, realistically, the quality of cricket, except for the fielding and spin for Canada, looks very high, measured and extremely clean. IPL quality, hitting with technique. With their money and population. Oh, did he ask? Oh, I'm not sure. What do you mean by that? Look, I think they started is a good bowler. I think he bowled really well to start this game, and then obviously once the ball got a bit dewy, he got hit as well. I like their new ball bowling. I think you saw the best of their batting today, Udit, if we're being honest. And I don't think we'll see them bat at that level too much more in this tournament, but they did bat well. I don't think they have death bowling. I don't think they have genuine any wicket takers after that power play. So very similar to the USA in that way. And I would like to see their batting depth tested a little bit more before I was all in on their batting as well. But I thought they played quite well. Like, they should have won this game, right? They were massively in front of this game, and maybe if they had a fifth bowler, or the Jew hadn't have come in, or they'd actually even take those two things away. They just got the wickets that their new ball bowlers probably could have earned. They win this game. Again, Cory Anderson at times can look extremely limited and stuck at the crease, mistiming everything. Why did he move away from New Zealand? So Cory Anderson had just so many injury problems and he couldn't get over them. Look, he's always looked a little bit like someone who can be limited and stuck at the crease, mistiming everything, because he's a hitter, right? Like he's a he's a muscly kind of player. And then once he starts hitting, it looks like he can hit every ball for six. He's never really fulfilled his potential. And a lot of that has been injury. And also a lot of it has been self-belief. I did an article about him years ago, and we might do something on him for this World Cup on the main channel as well. We've got a bunch of videos on the main channel already in the works. Probably Monday morning will be the first one when we're looking back at some of the old T20 World Cups as well. But yeah, look, I've always been a big fan of Cory Anderson, but you do have to take the fact that he is a big lumbering dude. And because of that, he's going to miss time a few balls. But injury is the reason he moved away from New Zealand. He married an American woman, so went to America and really was almost in semi-retirement in some ways. So the fact he's made his way back to the Big Bash is absolutely huge. I only spent an hour with him on one stage. Must have been Champions Trophy 2017, maybe. Look, I really liked him, and I really want him to do well. And I've been following him a lot, and that sort of, what he can do is huge. What I was impressed at today was how smart his bowling was. He still went for runs in his second over, but they brought him on when they were in all sorts of trouble. And straight away he came around the wicket, bowled a big cutter, took a wicket, and probably saved them from chasing 205, 210. All right, maybe even more, but probably 205, 210. And then when he came into bat at the end, it didn't matter. He mistimed a bunch of balls because, he was just playing for the dude at the other end who was hitting sixes and they only needed to run a ball. What's a realistic chance of USA beating Ireland or even one of India or Pakistan? Yeah, USA could definitely beat Ireland. I think there was a USA team who beat Ireland, and I want to say it was in T20s, but it might have been 50 over cricket during lockdown. And I have to go back at that, but I remember watching that series. I've seen the USA beat Scotland before as well, and I think the USA is a better team now than they were. Things still have to go right for them. Ireland is a better team. If they had given Ireland the sort of start they gave Canada today, I think Ireland probably make 220, and Ireland's new ball bowling is even better and probably takes wickets where Canada's couldn't quite break through. But that doesn't mean that they don't have a chance against Ireland. I don't know what they would start as in that kind of game. I don't know if any of the odds are up for any of those games yet. Probably not, are they? They stand as massive favourites in this game, USA. I think they're 150, 140. So very, very short favourites in that particular game. But yes, they could do that. I don't really expect them to be any of those three teams. But if I was Ireland, I would look at that and go, okay, we're going to have a game on. And because of their ability to hit sixes, the USA, they can probably put a little bit of pressure on Pakistan. I don't think they can put pressure on India because I don't think they're going to be able to handle Kuldeep or Bumrah at all. And if they struggled with Canada's opening partnership, the top order of India should be able to score pretty comfortably against them. Their best bowler is probably Ali Khan, right? Who's obviously a former IPL bowler, and we all know him. He only really comes into his own towards the end. So you need Ali Khan to really have a total that he can sort of come on the 17th over and bowl, take 2 or 3 wickets. If the total's already out of control, that doesn't matter. So today was a perfect example of that. Even when he came back and bowled well, it didn't really change things all that much because Canada had already got away from them. So yeah, look, there's definitely a chance of them beating some of these sides. They beat Bangladesh. I've seen them beat Ireland. As I said, I've seen them beat Scotland. They're there and thereabouts, and I think they're a better side than I've ever seen them play before. But, what we're really talking about is a 20% chance of them winning one of the Ireland or Pakistan games. That's it. But if Aaron Jones or Taylor or Hamid or Anderson gets going with the bat, they can score really quick and they can put pressure on you. And they crumbled Canada today, right? That you've got to respect that because they were massively behind, and in a very short amount of time, they made the opposition absolutely fall apart in front of them. Nothing but respect for that. Anyway, we'll be back at midday England time for the scoreboard and everything else. But thank you very much for everyone who popped on for this quick one. And we'll see you again very, very soon here on Good Areas. Remember that cricket is a funny game. 100 years before we protected our heads, players looked after their groin. So don't be as stupid as old cricket.